Okay, to get started, we are going to grab our air dry clay. Okay, so we're going to roll this into a ball, and we want to try to make sure there are no big cracks like this, because that will affect our final product. So you can kind of roll it around on your surface. As always, when we work with air dry clay, we want to make sure that we are protecting our surface, because it could really stick and be unpleasant, and it's not that fun to clean. So a plastic placemat, a silicone mat, wax paper, anything like that to protect our surface, and also it makes it easier to work with our little pot that we're making as it dries. Alright. Okay, so we've got a nice sized ball here, and we are going to use our fingers or our knuckles, whatever you like, to start to push down in the center. See, I'm already creating a nice little divot here. Push down and create this bowl shape. And we're kind of pushing away and down, so that we're widening this at the same time that we're pushing down. Okay, so now you can start to press the walls and turn it. Keep pressing down. You don't want this down here to get too thin though, because if it gets too thin, when we stick it down to dry and we try to pick it up, it's going to get stuck and the whole thing will rip. So I want to even out my edges. It was really thick over here. I don't want that. Also still a little thick on the bottom here for me. So keep pushing. And you're just gonna keep working with it. And you can see I have some cracks here and some separation and some fingerprints. That's okay, don't worry about that just yet, until you get the shape that you want, right? Same goes for the outside. It's not perfect, you can see my fingers, that's okay. So I want it to be kind of even. Right now it's not. Right, I'm putting it down on the table, and so what I'm seeing from my angle is this. See, it's a little higher right here, so I'm gonna try to flatten that out. And as we do that, we are going to try to create the shape of our pumpkin. So you can be as detailed or as not detailed as you want. So when you think about the shape of a pumpkin, what does it look like? It's kind of rounded, almost like the start of a heart when you draw a little cartoon heart, right? Not as pointed, but you kind of round down here. So I'm gonna push, right? This is where the stem would go. I'm gonna push, and then it comes back out. And then the same thing at the bottom, kind of pushes up again a little here. Okay? This is your pumpkin, so you can do whatever you would like to it. If you want to create more bumps to represent those segments from the lines that are on the pumpkin, why not? Go for it. Okay, and at this point, when you like the shape that you have for your pumpkin, remember, lift it up off of your surface occasionally to make sure that it's not going to stick. Right, so underneath it's pretty smooth here. I'm cool with that. But I want to smooth out some cracks here and in here. So I have a little bit of water here. I'm gonna dip my fingers in the water and smooth it out. This is like magic, the water, and how it smooths everything out. And your hands don't need to be soaking wet, it's just a little bit. And this is the messy part, so that's okay too. Right, and it helps bring any cracks back together. And it just helps to smooth out any places where you might have fingerprints or unevenness, especially if you feel like your clay is a little bit dry. You can go around the outside too to get rid of fingerprints, smooth your shape. If you add too much water, it will take even longer for your pot to dry, so be careful of that. Okay, so I'm happy with that for my little pot, my little dish, my little pot, whatever we have. We're gonna take another little piece of clay to make the stem of our pumpkin. And if your hands are soaking wet, you do want to dry them just a little bit. My hands are just damp and that's fine to help roll this out. Again, if it's too wet, sometimes it's too hard to work with, but just a little damp helps to smooth everything out. And so now you can create the shape of your stem however you would like it. So I'm gonna kind of go a little squat. Kind of looks like a hat right now. All right. So if you have clay tools, you can use clay tools, toothpicks, wooden dowels, whatever kind of tool. I'm gonna create some lines in here, like the natural texture of the stem of a pumpkin. And then I'm gonna twist it so it looks kind of gnarly. Gnarly and old and dried out, because when you cut it from the vine, that's what happens. It does kind of dry out. Twist. See, it's got some texture now. And I'm going to get the bottom of this a little more damp with my water and attach it right here. And I can use my fingers or my tool and the water to help smooth these joints together. Don't want to smooth too much because I do want to keep my texture. I can go back in and still follow some of those lines here. But see, I'm not really touching up the top of this because I don't want to lose the little swirls that I made. And if you need to add some extra clay, go ahead and just get a tiny little pea-sized piece. Just a little piece. I'm gonna get just a little bit of water on it. And I'm gonna use it, look at that, to close that right up over there. And then I'll use my little wooden dowel, toothpick, whatever you have. You can use plastic utensils if you have them, whatever you would like, to smooth that joint. And then again, with just a little bit of water on my finger, okay, so that is your pumpkin. You can leave this to dry. When your outer walls are nice and secure and they feel pretty dry to the touch, make sure you lift up your pumpkin dish and flip it over so the bottom can dry. The best way to do it is to peel the backing off the pumpkin, not the pumpkin off the backing. That won't make sense when you try to do it. If you celebrate Halloween or you like Halloween or you like jack-o'-lanterns, what you can do next before this dries is you can carve a jack-o'-lantern face into the inside of your dish. If you don't like Halloween or celebrate Halloween, you can just let this dry and then we'll get to the next step, which is painting the pumpkin. If you don't want to carve the jack-o'-lantern face into it and you'd rather paint the jack-o'-lantern face onto it, you can do that as well. I'm going to explore carving it in here just for a little extra dimension. So I'll do the triangle eyes. Some paper towels here to scrape off the excess clay. And it doesn't need to be perfect, but you want to just carve out whatever you can, and then you'll enhance it with your paint. Okay, so that's my silly jack-o'-lantern face. I'm going to let this dry. It will definitely dry overnight, and then I will flip it over, let it dry a few more hours before I paint it tomorrow. So I will see you back here tomorrow, and we will paint our pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns. Okay, once everything is all dry, it is time to paint. I'm going with just classic orange here, but you also have brown, green, and black if you want to use the black and brown to add some shading to your orange pumpkin and make it more dimensional. You can absolutely do that. I'm painting the back here right now just to illustrate painting the whole thing, but when you put it down on the newspaper to dry, it'll pull up and it won't dry so well, so just do one side at a time. And then I'm going in with the black and my little paintbrush to do the details on the jack-o'-lantern face if you have a jack-o'-lantern on yours. Now you can go in and touch up any of the little spots where maybe you missed or you need to fix the black. Look for any spots that are still white and really get the paintbrush in there. Now I'm mixing some brown with the green so that it's not so bright to do my stem on my pumpkin. I'm going to wipe off some of the extra paint and I'm going to do some brown and kind of just brush it right on top. Then I'm taking the thin brush and some brown with black to go into those little cracks that we made, the little twists. And then I'm going back over with the green and brown combination just to make it look a little nicer. And there it is, there's your jack-o'-lantern.